Friends, this is a special episode of my channel Satya Vachan Universal. This particular episode focuses attention on National Public Service Broadcasting Day, which was celebrated yesterday on Diwali, on 12th November 2023. While the entire nation celebrated Diwali, very few actually recalled that 12th November is being celebrated, is being observed by the Government of India as National Public Service Broadcasting Day. But why it is celebrated this particular day, 12th November, as National Public Service Broadcasting Day? It was on this day, on 12th November 1947, Mahatma Gandhi addressed 2 lakh refugees who were camping in Kurukshetra and who came from Pakistan because of the partition of our country. You know, Mahatma Gandhi actually was supposed to go to the refugees, to the camp, and mingle with them to share their agony, anxiety, their pain and suffering. But due to unavoidable work, he could not go there. So therefore, he was requested to address the refugees from All India Rafio. And when he came to address the refugees, before that, in fact, the studio of the All India Rafio was specially created to generate a prayer ambience, to generate an atmosphere where Gandhi would offer prayers. It was a special atmosphere, special ambience in which actually he addressed the refugees. That was the first and last live broadcast of Mahatma Gandhi over All India Rafio on 12th November 1947. But what did he say to the refugees? He said his life's mission was to be with the afflicted, the suffering people, and alleviate their pain, their suffering. And he requested the refugees that his broadcast over All India Rafio, the live broadcast, should be taken in that spirit. Mahatma Gandhi's live broadcast over All India Rafio was a remarkable example of public service, because he, in fact, it's not that the first time he addressed people through radio. In 1931, over Columbia Radio, he addressed the Americans from London, and therefore it was the first and live broadcast of Gandhiji over All India Rafio, and it was his second live broadcast. But what did he say? What he said constitutes the core of public service in India. See, for instance, he was not occupying any position or post. His entire life and work constituted an exemplary legacy of service. So therefore, his live broadcast represented that animated service which remains a shining example for the entire world. Because he never occupied any office, but he was a public figure. Therefore, that address to the suffering humanity, which was there in Kurukshetra, in fact constituted a fine example of public service. Therefore, 12th November 1947 is being celebrated as Public Service Day. The initiative to make it a Public Service Day was taken by Suhas Borkar, who is the founder of Jan Prasar, and he is the convener of that organization. He in fact sensitized the then Information and Broadcasting Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, to commemorate that day as National Public Service Day in 1997. But somehow or other, he was not sensitive enough to do so. Later, when Mrs. Sushma Swaraj became the Minister for Information Broadcasting, Mr. Suhas Borkar approached her and immediately she accepted the proposal. And eventually, in the year 2000, this 12th November was celebrated as National Public Service Broadcasting Day. It was a remarkable event. I was there on that occasion. A meeting was organized in the premises of All India Radio in the open ground. And in that event, in fact, Mahatma Gandhi's recordings of that first and live broadcast was played. It was very educative to listen to that. And on that occasion, Mahatma Gandhi's favorite hymns were also recited. And one of those hymns was, of course, Vaishnava Janato, and the other was a Christian prayer in English. Let me read the lyrics of that Christian hymn. Make me channel of your peace, where there is no love, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. Where there is despair in life, let me bring hope. These are the few lines from those remarkable lyrics. Those were read out. And from that day onwards, 12th November 2000, National Public Service Broadcasting Day was celebrated and observed. So yesterday on Diwali, on 12th November 2023, it is important to recall Gandhi's address to the refugees, the suffering humanity. Gandhi said, he invoked that it was the Diwali day, but he said, what is the meaning of Diwali for you when you are suffering? There cannot be any light in your life because you have suffered so much. He said, suffering is your bond. Then he said, maintain sanitation, do some spinning, and then he said that keep Kurukshetra clean. And whatever ration was provided to the refugees, he told them, requested them to share the ration, let there be community kitchen. And then he said that his life's mission was to serve people, the suffering people, cutting across the barriers of nationality, religion, and caste. That message which he conveyed was remarkable. It is important to recall that speech of Mahatma Gandhi in these tragic times. So when people in Manipur are suffering for several months, and our top leaders of the country who are ruling, they have not visited them, they have not reached out to them to alleviate their suffering, to establish peace there. And of course, at the global level, we have seen the Israel attack on Gaza and the conflict there, and the appeal of the United Nations for ceasefire. In this context, that message of Gandhi that there should be peace, there should be humanity in the midst of suffering, that assumes greater significance not only for our country but for the entire humanity. In this context, it is important to recall what did Gandhi talk about radio. In fact, he described 20th century as the century of radio or the age of radio. 14 days later, on 26 November 1947, few months after our independence, Gandhi was accused by one person from Mumbai. Now, that time it was called Bombay. That person accused Gandhi that he was engaging himself for the propaganda of the Congress. And Congress was doing propaganda for itself. Gandhi wrote back and said that he never engaged in propaganda for anybody. He said he was speaking for the suffering humanity, for the entire world. And then he said, if Congress party would use radio for its own propaganda, for its own glorification, there would be dictatorship in India. What Gandhi said 12 days after his first and live broadcast over All India Radio is of great significance for our country. Today we have Godi media, and Godi media is engaged in propaganda of the ruling party in India, and therefore people are saying that there is undeclared emergency. undeclared dictatorship. It is therefore important to recall those words of Mahatma Gandhi, that if a party got engaged in using the media or the radio or any means of communication, that would result in dictatorship. We need to be mindful of those words of Gandhiji. And of course, in his speech to the refugees, Gandhi had said very, very categorically that people of that refugee camp who were suffering, he said, they would with dignity go back to Pakistan from where they have come, and all those who left India for Pakistan, they should come back. In other words, Gandhi was defying the partition. He didn't accept partition because he said that people who have left their home, their property, their everything, they need to go back. He said without such people going back or without accepting them as brothers, and if such things would continue, there would be problem perpetually. And therefore those words of Gandhi assume greater significance in the context of the tension, in the context of the kind of a conflict situation that we are confronting all the time. And that is the reason why we need to recall Mahatma Gandhi's first and live broadcast over All India Radio, which he delivered, which was done on 12th November 1947. Let me conclude by saying that it was Subhas Borkar's Jan Prasar which initiated this, and therefore the Government of India celebrated it as National Public Broadcasting Day. Mr. K.R. Narayanan, who was the President of India in 2000, while addressing the seminar on the theme preparing people to cope up with disaster by giving them information, recalled Gandhi's first and live broadcast. And he said that Gandhi, after that live broadcast, had told a newspaper man that he saw God's power in the microphone. It was a wondrous thing. And that Shakti which he saw in microphone, he described Shakti. And therefore, today we have that God's power, that wondrous thing, that Shakti, that power of the God in form of not only radio, but in forms of television, internet, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth. So therefore, when such remarkable power of God which Gandhi saw in the microphone of the All India Radio on 12th November 1947, and by using that God's power, he reached out to the suffering humanity, we need to be mindful of what mighty power we have in the forms of different methods of communication, and that to instant communication. So therefore, we need to remember that particular event for using media for public service. If we can do that, we will uphold Gandhi's legacy, who in fact cautioned that if media was used by the particular party for its glorification, that would herald dictatorship in India. We need to confront this challenge that we are faced with, and therefore use media for constructive purposes, for public service, and for reaching out to the suffering humanity. Last year, when the Public Service Broadcasting Day was being celebrated on 12th November 2022, Jan Prasar, participating every year in the program organized in All India Radio, was requested in a letter by the All India Radio officials, and that letter was in English, that they can come and participate, but they informed him that Christian prayer of Gandhi was dropped because it was in English. Mr. Subhas Borkar protested. He said, when the All India Radio authorities are sending him a letter in English, why should the prayer in English should be dropped? And he, in protest, he did not participate, and a program was organized in India International Center where that prayer was recited. And it was covered by media, and he stood defended because of the massive public support he got. So it is in this context we need to be mindful of the machinations of the people who are in power today to devalue Mahatma Gandhi's legacy. We need to uphold it, and we need to confront that challenge by invoking truth and nonviolence, which Gandhi displayed during his lifetime, employed those great ideals for the freedom of our country. I'm sure you like this video, and I sincerely hope that please watch and listen to it carefully and subscribe to my channel. Please share it, and of course kindly leave your comments after liking it and spreading among the people, friends, and the larger civil society. Thank you so much.